There's been a tradition on Cricbuzz Comm box that the maximum action happens in the over at the end of the 10th and starting the 11th. This time around, it's been broken, and what we would have felt one ball earlier, Michael, is different from now. That fourth wicket falling, cotton ball Imran Tahir could quite change things from what we might have analysed one ball earlier.
Well, I'll say one over earlier. I think at the end of the 9th over, Rajasthan Royals were well in the contest. You thought Tripathi was playing the more of the aggressive role. Steve Smith was just knocking it around. There was no real spin. There was no real swing. The ball was coming on. The dew was playing a factor. Well, that first over from Imran Tahir, 1 for 3, a little bit of spin away from the edge of Steve Smith. The googly's gone nicely, and now the key wicket of Tripathi over to Ben Stokes to try and get 10 runs and over with the likes of DJ Bravo to bowl 4 and Imran Tahir to bowl another 3 with a little bit of a mixed match. Mitchell Santner, he struggled with a wet ball, but 7 overs to go with those 2 experienced bowlers, particularly in these kind of conditions. You have to fancy that Chennai and MS Dhoni might get this job done.
Before the 10th over, I mean, you would have said that, well, Imran Tahir was so lethal the other day, but that was, of course, when already wickets had fallen and he came into a happy situation. Here, the partnership had been strung together, as you said, and the question mark was, as a wrist spinner, can you actually grip that ball? And the answer in the first over seems to be yes.
Yeah, I think you see confidence, because you look at Imran Tahir, he got 3 for 9 in that first game, all right, with different conditions, probably a drier ball, but because he's full of confidence, he's not even thinking about the ball, he's just getting it in his hand and going, I can deliver. Someone like Mitchell Santner, for the first time, it is a wet ball, he's probably thinking, wait a minute, it's a little bit wet, it's a little bit loose in the fingers, and we saw those first 2 deliveries in particular that were waist-high full tosses. So there's confidence, as a spinner you can bowl with the wet ball, it's not easy, but you just hold your grip a little bit differently and you just kind of bowl it into the surface that little bit more. But you'd have to fancy from this position, Chennai will fancy winning this game. But with Ben Stokes, I have to say Steve Smith looks nice. He played a couple of good shots to get up and running, that pull shot and then that flick through the onside. The Steve Smith that we saw for so many years until his 1-year ban. So you'd have to think that Steve Smith will play the Dhoni anchor role, and it's going to be the likes of Gautam and people like Ben Stokes to come out and play the aggressor role.
But the amazing part for Mahendra Singh Dhoni is the amount of bowlers he has at his disposal. He mentioned DJ Bravo, who hasn't bowled yet. Even if you discount him and you need a couple of overs of Santner to be compensated for, you've still got Suresh Raina if he wants to use it. You've got Kedar Jadhav if he wants to use him.
Yeah, I think that's what MS Dhoni does in all the teams in white ball cricket. He generally likes options. And I think that's so important in this era of the game, because it's not always that your 5 bowlers, if you just go with 5 bowlers, have great nights. You're always going to get 1 or 1.5 that the opposition either fancy or the conditions don't suit their style of bowling. So to have that 6th, 7th and 8th option, and you're never quite sure which one MS Dhoni is going to be choosing. And I think as a kind of fielder in MS Dhoni's team, you're always going to be wary, because he might just go, right, you're on next over, you've got to stay loose, you've got to stay away, you've got to stay in the game, because you're never quite sure which one MS Dhoni is going to choose.
Already today, we've had an Englishman and an Australian coming together for a record partnership. Here we've got something similar here as well. And they flourished together in the past in slightly different colours, in pink and purple, at the Rising Pune Supergiant.
Well, I have to say, if you'd have said 1.5 years ago that you'd have had me on a sofa talking about cricket and Johnny Bairstow and David Warner would have been hugging, I'd have said no chance. And if you'd have said, you know what, in about the 3 hours after that, you'd have had Ben Stokes and Steve Smith hugging at the end of a great win, I'd have said absolutely no chance. So anything's possible.
All right, put you on the spot right now. When it comes early Monday morning, and I reckon that's where it's going to be, which team's going to be hugging, yellow or pink?
I think it's going to be yellow. I think MS Dhoni will probably manoeuvre his troops and his tactics into a position of winning this game.
We'll see you probably somewhere close to the stroke of midnight for MPL Presents Cricbuzz Live.